If I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, maybe you'll get sick of being the monster.
You're listening to the Breadwinner Energy Podcast with your host, Tay Daniels. Tay started her business 10 years ago with $100, wrecked credit at 7 months pregnant. Today, she scaled 2 multi-six-figure businesses and runs a global empire helping Black sheep women turn their ashes into intellectual property and their wounds into wealth. Tune in every week for raw, unedited episodes on becoming a wealthy woman, thought leader, and empire builder. Learn how lived experience becomes power, purpose, and your wealth empire. Welcome to Breadwinner Energy. Let's fucking go.
Welcome back to another episode of the Breadwinner Energy Podcast. We are back for 2026. Did you miss me? It feels like I have been gone for so long. It's only been like 3 weeks maybe, but it feels like forever. And in those weeks, which has been absolute insanity, chaos, and I will share more of that, but I think it gave me this like, oh my God, I really love the podcast. I love podcasting in general, and I'm ready to get back to it. So here we are. We're back for a new year. How are we feeling about 2026? I think for a lot of us, we're excited because 2025 was an absolute shit show. But I also think that some of us are hesitant, right? Like, I know a lot of us went into 2025, right? And every year, like, new year, new energy, yay, new me, whatever. This year has been like, I don't know yet. I'm not going to call that so early because 2025 messed us up. 2025 was a fucking year, and not in a good way. It was, oh my God, I'm so glad it's over. I'm glad it's over and that I never have to go back to it. I was literally just telling my husband the other day, you could not pay me to do 2025 over again. And I thought 2024 was bad because that was my huge burn down of my business. No, 2025 was like, oh, here, like hold my beer. I'm next. It was not it. So I'm ready for a new year, fresh energy. And I think that 2026 is going to bring a lot of perspective. I think that's the right word, a lot of perspective. And I'm going to unpack today what I think. Before I do that, though, what did you guys think of the intro? New intro. When I left you guys in 2025, I said I was going to come into 2026. We've got new energy, new things are happening, and I needed some downtime. And thank God I took it, but I needed downtime to rest, to take care of things at home because there's things that are happening behind the scenes, and to prepare for a new year. And I did that, even though I really missed you guys and missed being here. But I'm glad I did because a lot of things have happened. I shared recently in a container that I am going through my own death and rebirth. And let me say this, my entire life has been death and rebirth, but this time more specifically, it's different. It's a death and rebirth for a new level. And it's really hard to explain. And I will be sharing again more as the weeks and the months unfold. But this death and rebirth specifically has been wild, fucking wild. And in my business, the methodology that I teach is that when you go through death and rebirth inside Breadwinner Energy Academy, you're going through it for mastery. You're going through it to extract out lessons and intellectual property and what you're going to be selling while also shedding old layers of you that cannot come into this next season. And so in 2024, when I burned down my business at the beginning of 2024, that was right after I hit my first six-figure launch. We hit that launch, and then I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks later, I got a DM from someone in my community that was sharing that somebody was using my trademark. Somebody high profile, lot of money, etc. That then kicked off March 2024, burned down my business that entire summer, was lost in the sauce. This was like the very beginning of the biggest death and rebirth I have ever had. And that concluded in September of 2024. The year ended, and I was like, okay, we got through it. We did it. We're here. We're surviving. That was not what I expected, but 2025 will be better, as most of us do. And I entered 2025, and it has been the most insane, hardest, excruciating year of my life internally. And I opened my psychic channel this year, and I totally did a brand new business. I say brand new business, but I pivoted my business into spirituality, into this deeper layer of thought leadership, while also going through my own death and rebirth, my own identity death, opening my channel. I completely ridded my business of all these things. I was in the void for so long and lost my grandmother. And now I am entered 2026. And this part, I'm going through the canal of the rebirth. So in my business, it's death, then the void, then rebirth, then being unleashed. And you will go through these cycles in different ways, in different seasons of your life, of your business, whatever. And so it's not just like one season you go through, but when you go through it in academy, you're going through it for mastery specifically so that you can extract out your unleashed era, extract out your intellectual property, being paid to be you from your ashes, right? And so, of course, when you tell universe, spirit, whatever you believe in, that you're going to do something and you're going to go in a new direction and you want to do this thing and you want to have this thing and you want to master this thing, right? You tell universe that you want something, you must go through the initiation to master said thing so that you can teach said thing. That's how it always goes. And I've watched that with myself, with my students, is when you declare something, things will move around, things will shift around, but you must become the version of you that can do those things, that can teach those things, that can hold those things. And that will require you to go through this process of death and rebirth. And so, right now, in my own rebirth, I'm going through the rebirth canal, being rebirthed. And this is the part where people think it's like glamorous and it's so exciting and it's so fun and it's like the best part and your life is just like this magical better thing. And that is not at all how rebirth is. Not at all. Rebirth is just as excruciating as the void, but the difference between the two is when you're in the void, it's very internal, it's very reflective, it's really quiet, it's a lot of nothing. And you have to sit in this discomfort of nothing. And that's really challenging for a lot of us. But then when you go through the rebirth canal, I think of it like this. You're in the void and the room is empty, right? It's you, it's your chair, it's white walls, it's nothing. Okay. And you go through this process, and there's two doors, and I've shared this before. There's the door to the left, which is the old life that you can always go back to. And then there's the door to the right, which is where you go to be rebirthed. And when you open that door, you're going to get on a train, and that train's going to take you down the tracks to being unleashed. Work still is done in that train ride. People think like once I leave the void and I get on the train, then that's it, right? Like nothing, like everything gets better. I just like take this joyous ride and I arrive at this destination and everything is better. No, because that train ride, you can no longer go back, right? So you're shedding off the remnants, the last pieces of your old identity that can't come because otherwise you can't get off the train ride. Relationships, right? You will lose and rid your life of relationships that cannot come with you or that aren't coming on this train ride. And it will be the most excruciating part. But what starts to happen from the void to the rebirth is that your external world starts changing. But before it's good, before the quantum leap, it's a tower. There will always be a tower before you get off the train ride. And sometimes that tower is excruciating. And it is one thing after another, after another, after another. And everything will feel like it's crashing down, it's burning. It's the opposite of what you said you wanted, or it's the opposite. You're like, I want peace and I want this great life and more money. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to rid your bank account of all of these other things so that we can make space for these new things to come in. We're going to rid your life of all these relationships that actually can't come with you. And it happens very quickly, but it is lots of tower moments really, really fast, while also being tested to make sure that you're ready for being unleashed. And so when that happens, I know that I'm really close to being unleashed of the quantum leap because of these towers. And boy, oh boy, December delivered on those towers over and over and over again. And what I have learned in 2025 is that I am a master manifester. And I've actually known this way before 2025, but 2025 specifically taught me that not only am I a master manifester, that I need to be very, very clear and specific about what I want to manifest. I said in 2025, I wanted to move. I love our current home, love, love, love our current home. But there are things about our current home that are not allowing for being expansive. One of those things is a backyard. I really, really needed a backyard for outside space for me and the kids. That's like a non-negotiable that I've said now for like over a year. And I'm like, we need a yard, so we got to go. And then the second thing is, this house is a seven energy. And I don't know if you guys know about house numerology, but a seven energy home is a home that is really internal. Spiritual awakenings can be really isolating, can be really lonely. And that's what this year's been. It has been very much hermit mode. And we moved in here in early 2023 before we had our second daughter. And it did open, right? Spirituality, psych, all those things. It happened here. But I just know when it's time to leave, right? Like a space. And so I was like, okay, I love this home, but this is not like we need to go. We need to move. So nonetheless, we manifested a move, but not in a way that I expected. And my husband got a new position, and we are moving hours away, hours and hours away, further away from my family, and not, and we're already hours away from my family now, but more hours away to a place that I've now only been to visit for less than an hour. Didn't really visit the place. I've really never been to the place, right? Like I've been because I had to go look at homes, but we did not spend extensive time there. So I'm going to a brand new place, and it just feels like everything I've asked for is coming, but not without reckoning first. And that has been excruciating. And that's also been what a lot of you guys' 2025s has been, right? But now we're entering a new year, 2026. Technically, I don't believe that New Year's start until March, but nonetheless, we're going to go off this. That 2026 is new energy, right? It's an energy 1 year. We just closed out a 9 cycle. So a lot of us just closed out lots of cycles. And so what I saw, because I started burning my business down early 2024 and going through this massive rebirth myself, 2025 was a lot of death for the industry, for the coaching industry, for the online industry, for coaches, for mentors, for women in general. 2025 was a death year where I entered my death year in 2024. So when I did a lot of the burning down and the shedding and then entering the void and then going through all of that stuff, I was then watching 2025 happen for other people, right? Like I was watching other people go through what I had just gone through. That was something like it became very vividly clear to me. And now a lot of people burned down their businesses in 2025. They either literally quit, like totally quit business, or they burned down versions of themselves and businesses that just weren't for them. And we watched even like high profile million dollar, multi-million dollar business owners do this because this has been the reckoning for the industry, for the collective. And so I want to talk today about 2026, what I am predicting for 2026, what I think is going to happen in our industry, what I think that uh, you're going to have to shift to for creating success in your business. And let's get into it. Let's just jump right in because this has been a very long intro. So, 2026, I am saying, is for the unleashed woman, the woman who has gone through death and rebirth and is unleashed. And we're going to talk about more about what that is today. But I think that there's going to be, the industry is going to clearly, very clearly separate women who are unleashed, who have gone through death and rebirth cycle, who have turned their ashes into intellectual property and they're actually building their empire and their business from lived experience versus the woman who's performing wounded healer, like performing, giving their gifts away, proving themselves still performing, still trying to like have all the pieces together, still trying to be perfectionists. And there's going to be a very clear line between those of you who've built businesses from lived experience and from your own initiation and extracted your mastery from your death and rebirth versus those that are clinging onto what they've always done, even though that those versions need to die or those versions of you need to die. They're not actually evolving. And I also kind of put into this subcategory, wounded healer is like an archetype of this, right? Like the wounded healer is the you're still in victim mentality. Even like sometimes you don't even know it. Sometimes you're like, I'm really trying not to be, but you still are. I this happened to me back 2024. This was like very clear to me. But the wounded healer version is the version of you that is still projecting onto other people instead of owning your fucking shit. And that is probably going to be your hardest ego. It's called the ego death. It's going to be your hardest one. And what I've noticed too is when women come into the Breadwinner Energy Academy, where I help you to totally do a rebirth of yourself and turn your ashes into intellectual property, I clearly notice the versions of women where it's going to take a lot longer because they are still wounded healers. They are still in their victim. They are still projecting and blaming other people. They are still outsourcing their power to other people to create their own sovereignty and safe spaces. And those women are still in this space where you're not in thought leadership. You're not in empire builder mode, right? You're still in this I need to be coddled in a cocoon to feel good all the time, or projecting or pretending. This is another one, is like pretending you have it all together when really you don't, and you're scared to let people know that you don't. You're scared to be the realest, rawest version of you. So you're pretending, right, to have it all together and to be perfect and to know all the things, right? And those are the versions of the collective that are going to die out, that people are going to be able to read through and be like, this is not the version of the coach I want to hire. And there's going to be like this line that will become more crystal clear this year. I do also predict, and I predicted this for 2025, more people quitting in the next 6 months. I do predict that more people will leave the business industry, the coaching industry in the next 6 months. And the reason I predict that is number one is because spring solstice is technically when I believe the new year begins, which is March. So we're still in this January, February, clearing out the 2025 9-year energy. We're still clearing that out and clearing out what no longer serves us. And I think that a lot of people realize too that, and this was like remnants leftover of 2020. I think people are realizing that business is so much harder than they predicted or than they were sold. And we've seen this like mass exit in general over the last few years. But the thing is about business, and because I've been here 10 years and I've been in multiple different business models and I've ran different types of companies and I've worked with a bunch of different business owners, I can clearly see a lens of what's happening here. And what I've noticed is that people are realizing that being an online creative, right, plus business owner, plus coach requires a lot of time and energy, and it requires a lot of different pieces of you. And so some people are really good at being content creators or creative, but they're not really good at business. And some people are really good at business, but they're not really good at content creation. Some people are not just good at leadership, right? They just want to spew on the internet and just hope that people will pay them because they're spewing on the internet. And so a lot of those pieces are dying, and they're not working anymore. They're not making money anymore. They're not making money the way they once did. The way that people are spending money has changed. There's been a lot of pivots, right? So I think that in 2026, we will see more people leaving the industry. Here's what's actually dying in 2026 for sure: the relatability model, but the relatability model with nothing else to go with it. The era of like, I just like I like you. We're both struggling. We're both victims and we're both going to jump in the pool together because we're both just like each other. That's not going to be enough for people to pay. It's not going to be enough for people to pay premium pricing and pay for mastery, right? So, this whole like victiming together and just built on relatability alone, like relatability matters. Relatability is a perspective, right? That matters, but it matters when it's combined with authority and thought leadership and actual selling. And so if you don't put those pieces together and you're very careful about the way that you relate to people, right? Because relating to people when you're still in wounded healer versus relating to people when you're in thought leadership are two different ways of relating. So you either call in victims who don't have time, don't have money, and don't want to invest and don't want to actually change their life. They want to project onto other people. Or you call in relatability of the woman who is in her empire energy, who does want to change her life, and you guys are relating and connecting on different waves. So that relatability model will be changing and also dying at the same time. The next one that's dying is the freebie funnel approach. Freebies themselves, I won't say are totally dying, but there is a market. We have a market that is flooded with free content. right? Flooded. You can get free content anywhere. So free to paid is going to not be as popular as it once was. What I do think is going to be more popular is going to be low ticket paid to high ticket paid because people are, I think people now more than ever, that this is another like line in the industry is there's freebie seekers who are still at 9 to 5s, who are still testing things out, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, kind of tiptoeing the line of like, do I want to do this? Do I want to go back to a job? Do I want to stay at a job? Don't really have time because I'm at a job versus like people who are all in and they're like, I'm doing hell or high water, even if you're at a job because this is more of an energy, I am doing what it takes to create success. Therefore, I am being very careful with who I hire and where I spend money, but I'm also spending money because I want to change my life, right? And so I'm not going to dick around, lack of better terms, with a bunch of free shit when I know that I'm ready to go all in and they're going to test out your lower ticket products first, pay because they assume value, and then make a decision from there. I don't think freebie funnels will be as successful. And honestly, 2024 and 2025, that came true in our business that free masterclasses and free events did not convert well at all. And we saw a lot of live attendance was significantly declined. And so that was something that we were changing is like having live events that are paid, live containers that are paid, or some kind of paid offer as the front entry offer. Another thing that's going to die is going to be safe space messaging, hand holding, nervous system coddling. I'll make sure you're safe. I will mother you. I will take care of you because this keeps women small. And this is something that, number one, if you're the coach that has been, because this was me, the like, I will save you, I will hold your hand, I will save everyone type energy, you more than likely have already burned out from that and realized that doesn't actually curate results, high level containers and leadership spaces. It doesn't help you or the client, right? And so like you've probably drained yourself by babying people who are not self-led, and that has been like exhausting, right? If you're on the other end where you're expecting other people to create safe, quote unquote, safe spaces for you, I really want to challenge your thinking here. And that number one, no one can actually do that. No matter what a coach or a leader does, it is physically impossible for them to create a safe space for you. It just is. It's impossible for them to make sure that you always feel safe and coddled. That is your job. And if you're outsourcing that to other people, then you're outsourcing all of your power and sovereignty to the world and not taking ownership of how do I create my own internal safety regardless of my external circumstances. Something I've had to really, really work on in therapy recently for my own self, well, because of my relationship, but also as a coach and leader that like no matter what I do, I physically could not create a safe space if I wanted to, because again, those are perspectives and what feels safe to one person might not feel safe to another. But what my job is to do as a leader is to uphold boundaries, clear containers, uphold my promises, and then also creating a safe space for the collective. So it's like in my space, in my group coaching container, let's say that one person specifically is affecting the group, or one person specifically is coming to coaching calls, listening to what people are saying, and then preying on those people outside of calls to offer support or coaching or advice to that one person. They're preying on my paying students. That is not actually helpful to the collective, right? And then as the coach, what happens is you have students reaching out like, hey, so and so in the group just heard me get coached by you. And now they're reaching out to offer me solutions or to pitch me or to try to sell to me or to try to position themselves as my coach when really we're just peers in the same container. That doesn't feel good to me. My job as the leader is to make sure that that is cleaned up so that the group feels like there's a safe space, right? And there's a difference between making sure that someone feels individually safe internally versus creating a safe space for the container based on boundaries and standards that I ask the entire group to uphold. And if someone doesn't, they're removed. Here's what's going to be I don't want to say popular or trending because that's not true. Here's what's going to create success in 2026. Number one, thought leaders. Number one is leaders in general. Like the collective, the coaching industry itself is ready to experience leaders. Leaders, women who are actually leading. And number one, they're leading themselves first. They are leading themselves first by being walking examples of what is possible, proof, being real, being raw, being true, being authentic. Now, I don't want people to, I think that people are confused with authenticity of like, again, trauma dumping and just dumping on the world, like all of your thoughts and all of your problems, versus like being a thought leader who creates a brand persona that is the authenticity of you while also having your own personal life. Like I have my own personal life and a lot of things that are going on in my personal life that I don't put into my brand. Number one, because they just don't need to. Like, like sharing my sick kids, like that I've been dealing with sick kids, teething kids, whatever. Sure, I might post a story about that for connection or like who here is dealing with this, right? But like that's not going to be something that I like put on my feed or create thought leadership around because it doesn't make sense for my brand, right? Coaches who have intellectual property will dominate. Original intellectual property built from their ashes. That's part of the thought leadership container is that you have your own original like intellectual property. And that's what we do in Breadwinner Energy Academy. We help you create intellectual property from your own death and rebirth, from your own ashes and an initiation of what you've been through specifically, what makes you you, what makes you stand out as a leader because you are the one that's been through it. And not just teaching what you've learned, but actually living it, being embodied in it, extracting it, and then turning it into frameworks and methodologies from your unique lens. That's going to be the competitive advantage of 2026 and then moving forward. The next one is going to be experience to empire pipeline. So, the hardest things that you've survived in your life will be your most valuable intellectual property, but you cannot use it from the lens of what other people survived or what you think people want to hear. It has to be extraction from your death and rebirth because that is where you go through and you're like, oh, this is a lesson that I've been through many of times that I've actually had to master. I've mastered it. Now I'm going to turn it into a business model. So we take you through the death and rebirth. We take you back through your ashes. We extract your magic. We turn it into property, frameworks, and methodologies, and then you scale and build an empire from it. That's how my business works. You start out in Breadwinner Energy Academy. You go through the death and rebirth, the ashes, the extraction, the methodologies. You turn your ashes into intellectual property, which is like the basis, the foundations of business. Then you move into mastermind, and we scale it into an empire. The women that master this will be making a lot of money in 2026 and moving forward. The next one is premium positioning, premium pricing. I think that we will see 2 to 10K offers become very, very normal. It becomes the new normal for the industry. I also think that cheap is over. And I say this again is like, I think that cheap is over as your entire business model. I think that having like one cheap, quote unquote, under $100 offer or one offer that leads to like a mid-ticket course that leads to like a premium program, like a very clear, simple funnel, like start here, then do this, then do this. And it's not just 20 offer here, a $2 offer here, $11 offer here. It's like a very clear cut, like start here. If this was helpful to you and you got a win from this and you feel like we vibe and I'm the coach for you, it's time to move into this next thing. And so I think that that will be like this simplistic way of business, but also that 2 to 10K offers will be normalized. I even think maybe even up to 20K will be very normalized for the industry because we're pulling out more women who are in leadership positions, who are building from authenticity, who are building thought leader brands based on mastery. And so people are going to be willing to pay these quote unquote premium pricing for women who've been here, who are experienced, who take their businesses and other people's results very seriously. The last one is that women are not building businesses anymore. They're building empires and they're building personal brands. An empire is something that actually outlives you. It runs without you. It creates generational wealth. It's something that your family, your legacy is then known for. And I think that lifestyle business model is maxed out because you can only go so far on the lifestyle business model. And that doesn't usually go on as a legacy, as an empire past you, right? Because it was built solely on your back. Where when you build a personal brand that becomes an empire and it becomes a legacy and it's built from your ashes that changes lives, it can outlast you. And I think that is going to be what will change in 2026, right? So I don't think the question anymore is like, will the coaching industry survive? We already know it will. It's gone through like the worst of the worst. The question is, will you survive? Will you survive what is changing coming forward? Will you survive the new changes of the industry? Will you turn your ashes into intellectual property? Will you go through your own death and rebirth for mastery? Will you become a thought leader? Will you actually treat yourself as a leader? Will you run your business as a company and the leader of a company who thinks about what is best for the business, what is best for the legacy and the empire? Or will you keep building a business on what is best for Susie right in front of me that wants to know how safe I can hold her hand and make her feel comfort? That is dying. That is dying. Here are the let's say, I want to say like these are going to be the five deaths that you need to start creating right now to be unleashed. Number one, being relatable. Let it go. Change it. Change the way that you're going to be relatable with authority and embodiment. Number two, giving your best work away for free. Stop doing it. Charge prices, charge more. Your intellectual property is valuable. And if you actually treat it like it's valuable and you price it like it's valuable, other people will believe it's valuable and also get value from it. Number three, death. Let it go is the I need to help everyone complex. Stop being a martyr. Stop trying to save everyone. Stop trying to be everything to everyone. It will kill your business. Number four, stop building your business from depletion, hustling until you burn out, poverty priestess, undercharging, thinking that overflow and time away is selfish. Build from rest. And number five, stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for things to be perfect. Stop waiting for things to line up before you take action. And this is actually something that I needed to hear because when I took time off in the holiday break, and I've got sick kids and moving and traveling and sick family members, and my grandma just died, and all the things, life happening and things in business happening. And I'm like, I don't want to show up right now because I just have a lot going on and I need rest. And while rest is important and I balance that, it also doesn't have to be perfect when you come back. Okay. As always, thank you guys so much for being here, for being a listener of my podcast for years and years and years. We had a massive 2025 with the podcast. We had 712% growth, all thanks to you guys. And I'm glad that you're back for another year. Here's what I know about 2026. The women who are willing to do the deep identity work, to shed the layers and the ego death, who are willing to become a leader and no longer willing to be the wounded healer, who are ready to be unleashed and build empires from what they've survived, are the women who are going to blow 2026 out of the water. In Breadwinner Energy Academy, I'm opening spots as I move over the next few weeks. And we're going to be doing some deep internal things together where I'm walking you through this process in depth. And I want you to join. It's a 12-month container. It's an identity, death, and rebirth. It's where you come in for mastery. You master your death and rebirth. You master your gifts. You pull out your intellectual property and you become unleashed. In this space, you are not a victim anymore. You're ready to turn your lived experience into mastery and money. Mastery and money. The program is 2222 for the entire year, 12 months of 222, 12 payments of 222. The link is below. If you have any questions, come over to Instagram at it's @TayDaniels_LLC. And also just come over there and tell me, what did you think about the new intro of the podcast? And what do you predict is going to happen in 2026? Tell me your predictions. I want to know. Come tell me. Don't be shy. Don't be weird. Come tell me all of your predictions. And as always, I will chat with you on the next episode.